to be here with you today. And obviously, we've had a relationship and met a couple times, and seen you at North Raleigh and athlete games, and just love the fact that we you made the comment and won the contest, and I was like, oh, that's great because we've already had a relationship, and it was just cool to be able to continue it with you.
Yes, I was on a mission to win that. I was on a mission to make sure I won.
Well, I really am excited about spending an hour with you, and just want to frame up. I mean, this is really about you and about your vision and about helping you just be better. And through the conversation, I'll be better and you'll be better. And at the end of the conversation, I think that's a win. Is if we can both walk away having learned something, having grown our relationship, having connected, and really, I think we could start by you framing up for me. You could frame up for me kind of where you're at in life right now, um, in context of where you've been and where you want to go. So the real answer to the question, how are you?
I'm doing well, and that's a loaded question. But I'll start here. So as far as like my burn, as far as where I am in burn, I'm still loving it as much as I did when I first started in 2016. Um, I am currently a burn ambassador. I'm not sure if you knew that. I'm a burn ambassador. I also manage the social media, and I most recently took on Facebook ads for them. So excited about that. I also have another full-time job. I work at Cisco Systems. Not sure if you've heard of Cisco Systems before. I'm an HR
Mhm.
leader where I manage a team of early in career, mainly early in career hires and employees, and it has its ups and downs daily, mainly ups though. But I mean, does that answer the question?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think if you want to go back a little bit further and tell me how you got here, right? Like where you grew up, what your family life is like, maybe some struggles that you had growing up that you've overcome, ones that you haven't overcome. I think being
Okay.
vulnerable, opening up is going to allow us to really get deep.
Okay. So I'm from a small town state, still North Carolina, which is, I'm sure you've seen the signs. It's close to Charlotte. Um, so I moved to Raleigh. I've been here for I went to college in Greensboro, and shortly after that, I moved to Raleigh. I think some struggles that I've had, like I had in my younger years, are that I always thought I was overweight, even when I was not. You know how you look back on those times when you're like, I wish I weighed the same amount that I weighed or looked like I did at that point in time. But I always struggled with weight because I think it was because my mom was overweight, and I always was afraid that I was going to have those problems as well. And so I was always on a diet, like always. I probably tried every diet out there, diet pills and everything. And at that point in time, I really was not overweight. As a very young child, I was overweight, but as I grew into like a teenager, young adult, no weight problems at all, honestly. But then after I got married, when I got married, I gained 50 pounds,
Mm,
50 pounds. And
mhm.
then, I had 5 years later, I had my son, and I gained weight from that. And then a year later, I had my daughter. So, of course, I hadn't fully lost all of that weight. So, that was weight on top of weight. And it has been a struggle. It has been a struggle to lose weight. I mean, like I said, I've taken medication. I've done everything under the sun, every type of diet. And I mean, I would be successful at losing weight, but then I would gain the weight back. So I found out about Burn. I remember distinctly, it was in December of 2015, and I was scrolling Facebook, and I kept seeing the ad pop up. I kept seeing this place pop up. And I was like, I have got to try this place out. So I, of course, got in contact with, I guess it was Lindsay at the time. And they had an opening date. They were supposed to open at the beginning of the year. There were some delays. And then they decided they were going to open in sometime in April, and that didn't happen. And I was like, well, that's good because I'm going on the, well, not vacation. I was going on a business trip to California. So I was like, cool. Would I still be able to start afterwards? So, long story short, we opened on May 3rd, and I remember it distinctly. It was a Tuesday, and I was determined to go to 5 a.m. because with my work schedule, I'm like, I'm gonna have to make this happen. I need to go at 5 a.m., get it out of the way. And I just remember being there the very first day that I went to burn. It was something cardio related. It was myself and one other person there, and Lindsay Gilbert trained us. And I just remember being so nauseous, like up until noon after that camp. But I just knew that like the first day I just knew I was like this is my place. Like where has this place been all my life? So it's the rest is history. Like I've been there since day one. Um and I joined right after the 30 days. The 30 days, it was a 30-day free trial. I joined right after that. And I remember too, like I had so much success. Like I lost like 40 pounds in 8 months. Like because it was something new. I was doing something new. I was listening to Lindsay when it came to nutrition, doing everything she told us to do, and I lost the weight. And then I don't know if I just got comfortable or what happened, but I gained every pound of the weight that I lost initially back, and it's been a struggle since then trying to get the weight back off.
Okay. So thank you for sharing that. So it sounds like you have some, you have feelings of like fear, anticipating what you might, the life that you might lead if you were to be on the other side of being overweight, maybe similar to your mom that gave you some fears. Just seeing the unhealthiness and being overweight. You're like, I don't want to do that. I'm gonna try my best to lead a healthy life, and you do that, and then you get married and life circumstances start to happen. It's marriage, back to back children, and now all of a sudden the intentions are still there, but the practicality isn't there. The ideas are still there, but the physical
Uh-huh.
nature, you let maybe some habits that you used to have. Maybe it's some hormonal changes that rendered the habits useless that you used to have that happened when you had children, and now you have a different body when you come back from, especially having back to back children like that. You have different physiology, different your hormones work in different ways. There's shifts that happen, right? And you haven't really found out how to um, lose the weight that you want to lose and then maintain that over a long period of time. It's always been, since that time when you got married, it's kind of been an up and down battle with you. Yeah.
Yes. And just to
Okay.
add to that, like my mom passed away when she was 56 years old, which that's very young. I mean, she had weight issues. She had other issues, like she was a smoker, which I'm not, but she definitely had weight issues. So my biggest thing is that, of course, yes, I want to be around my kids. Didn't get to meet her, so my thing is I want to be around. See my kids grow up, get married, have grandchildren.
So it's really important to you that you almost honor your mother by creating health in your body and having longevity on your mind so that you can see your grandchildren uh, walk down the aisle or get married or live their lives, and the sadness that you might have felt your mother not getting to meet your children might be a real driver, a real motivator for you. Am I hearing you in the right way?
Yes, yes, 100%.
Okay.
Yes.
So the goal right then is, so the goal is, it's here's what I've gathered so far, that this up and down trajectory that you're in, do you feel that you're in danger? Do you feel that your life is in danger, that you're potentially shortening your lifespan by the up and down nature of where you've been with you said the 40 or 50 pounds, or do you
Yeah.
see that 50-pound mark being the ceiling, like, hey, I get close to there and I go back down because I know that's the beginning of dangerous right here, and if I stay in this range, then I'm probably going to live a long life. Am I tracking?
Yes, yes. And with that comes other issues like, mobility, like with knees and stuff like that. So those issues creep in as well.
What I hear is what's called temperature syndrome. And you see a lot of business people have this. So since you're an HR manager, let me give you an analogy that you'll be familiar with in the HR space. People cool off their hot temperament toward a goal once they are no longer freezing cold and hungry, and they reach a temperature of room degree room temperature where everything's comfortable, right? Up until let's say somebody has a goal, they want to make $100,000 a year, and you're managing them and they're in HR. They're motivated by money. They've told you your vision. You're a great leader, so you're reverse engineering that, using that back to motivate them to get right. So now all of a sudden, this person has like the craziest work ethic. They're up early, latest one there. They get 3 job promotions, kind of right in a row, one, two, three, all in, right? And then all of a sudden, they get that job promotion. They probably still maintain some momentum because there's a honeymoon period, but then 6 months later, it's like, where did the person go that got this job in the first place or got this promotion in the first place? Have you seen that in your world?
Hmm. Yes, I definitely
We get
have.
to that we get to that room temp, and now all of a sudden, hey, there's no hunger, there's no pain anymore. There's no pain. There's no, and for you, this seems to be the same thing, that you're under this threshold of what's dangerous. And so as long as, hey, you're meeting your goals, I mean, your hot button is you want to see your grandchildren grow. You want to see, what are your children's names? Your children.
B- Blake is my son and Kennedy is my daughter.
Okay, Blake and Kennedy. Who do you in your vision? Whose grandchildren are you meeting first?
Kennedy.
Blake or Kennedy? Okay, okay.
Kennedy's.
So yep. So Kennedy's grandchildren. Now you've reached that goal. Like, you're there. You know you're going to see that, right? You know you're going to see it because you set this goal of something that you will not tolerate in your life. You're not going to go over that ceiling of that 50 pounds, right? But as long as you're under it, you're meeting your goals. There's no need to panic. There's no need to set another goal. I'm at room temp. I'm comfortable. So the trick now is you've got to find out a new room temperature. You've got to increase the heat, if you will, right? And put yourself in a position where that goal is still, that it's maintained, but you're getting more specific and you're getting more dialed into it, so that that ceiling in which your weight is a byproduct of your familial goals, right? You, when you get your familial goals set in the place where you're pushing down, right, that need to stay at a certain level of health, a certain level of body fat, a certain level of vitality, of energy, of comfort. And it very well, Harriet, could be right where you're at now, right? And a lot of times what we do is we say, oh, we reached a goal. Well, do I need to have a new goal? Sure. But it doesn't always need to be the exact same goal. That I can set a goal, hit a goal, switch goals, and have new goals. So there's a lot to unpack here, and I'm just trying to just give you a little bit of perspective and see which way you want to take it. And I think that's a good place for me to stop and let you react to that.
So I totally see what you're saying as far as like, when I first started, it'll be 7 years. And even if I lost the 40 pounds or what I look like now, like it looks different. Like even I'm right at what I weighed when I started burn, but it feels different. Like I don't feel like I felt whenever I first started burn. So I can tell that my body has changed. And I know that's from working out. And I do, for the most part, choose clean foods. Um, but it may look different. That goal may look different than it looked 7 years ago. I may not lose 40 pounds. I might lose 20 pounds and I may be, and that might look good to me as well.
So what do you think, a if you were to establish, because it sounds like this has been your goal for a while, in the
It has,
macro. I know that you've probably had a lot of little goals, but this one has been there for a while, yeah?
yes, it's always weight loss is every time we have to set a goal, it's weight loss for me.
Because why? Why do you, and let's connect that back. You set a weight loss goal, which is the surface level goal, right? It's not the true, that's like if your weight wasn't associated to seeing your grandchildren, then would that still really be the goal, right? So isn't the true goal the experience, the interaction that you have on some day in the future with them?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So what do you want them to say? Let's build that out. I think that's a good uh, vertical to dive deep into. Okay, so you've got this goal. It seems to me like you're already achieving the goal, and then you're wondering like, why don't I feel motivated, or why don't I feel as motivated, or why am I not achieving this goal? It's like, well, because you already achieved it, Harriet. You're already there. You've done it. You're strong. You're healthy. As long as your blood work is good, and a little extra body fat doesn't hurt. It's not like there's a level of danger and a level of toxicity where it's dangerous. A little extra body fat doesn't hurt. Now, could 40 pounds be dangerous? 40 extra, sure, could definitely be that way. Um, and only you can decide that though. Only you can decide, and the way that you decide, from my perspective, what I've seen work best, and we're going to do this now if you'll do it with me, is you'll take that hot button that you already have, the love that you want to gain from not only your children, from Blake and Kennedy, but from your grandchildren, right?
Hold
And
on one
and
second.
being that grandma that's there that has longevity. You with me?
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I
Okay.
can
I
still hear
think
you.
it's okay. I think they're working now.
Okay. So taking that goal that seems like it's a vague goal, right? Be around so my grandchildren and I can have a relationship. Okay, let's narrow that in. Let's get specific. So now, because how we sell ourselves on goals is the story and the narrative that we're creating of some desired place that will be in the future. And you know this, which is why you've already set the goal of some desired place that you'll be in the future. But you're there. So it's no surprise to me that you are having a little trouble getting to the next level, because our goals in this North Star that we set is going to be the shining light to lead us to that next level. And if you don't have a bright, shining, specific, bright light, and it's a little dull, it's a little dim, and you're running another lap on the same goal, it gets unmotivating after a while. And I know it's still inspirational, but is it motivating? Inspiration and motivation are two different things. Inspiration is like, hey, that goal's gonna drive me forever. Motivation is like, hey, what's driving me today?
Mm-hmm.
So let's go deep, and I'll ask you the question: what specific, like, let's zoom in to the vision that you have when some point in the future Kennedy's first child is old enough to speak to you, to communicate with you, to tell you how she feels about grandma. Where are you at? What are you wearing? What are you doing? What type of day is it? What does Kennedy think about that interaction? Is there a photo that's taken that's a memorable moment that you're going to keep for the rest of your life in that interaction? It's like, let's set a story and let's use that story, a very specific version of what you already have in the abstract, to increase, increase the need for you to raise your temperature again.
So whenever I first meet my grandchild, and they're old enough maybe to talk, um, I am not going to be this grandma. I'm going to be this grandma who is still lively and able to do things with Kennedy and her child. Um, I'm going to want to be around and be involved.
Okay. Anything else come to mind?
My main thing is just that I want to continue to set great examples. I want Kennedy to look at me and not just be proud of me as her mom, but look at me and see the accomplishments that I've made as far as wellness and health. and that she follows along in those same footsteps.
Okay. Anything else come to mind?
Um, I'm not right now.
Okay. So you went one layer deeper, but tell me what the common theme between these things are: to be around, to be involved, to set great examples, to have Kennedy be proud, to see your accomplishments, and to say nice things about those accomplishments. What do you notice about all of those things?
Um,
Are any of them specific? So SMART goals, right?
yeah, they're not specific. They're not.
They're still pretty. They're more specific than be alive to see my grandchildren, but they're not specific enough to be able to paint the picture of what day, when, what time is it, what are you wearing. Grandma was the closest you got. I love that one. I put a big. I got my little. I don't know if you can see my little table in here. I write all my notes on my whiteboard table. And grandma was the one that came to my mind. That's a specific thing that you want. That's like your manifestation and your vision. So I'm going to ask you some more questions now and give you some more directions. And as we're going through this, what we're going to really be doing, Harriet, is building you a single day, one day in the
Hmm.
future that you can write this story out and you know exactly when and where and why and with who, and then you recall this story every day, every night when you read your goals, and it's connected to the thing that you want most, right, which is the love and appreciation and admiration from Kennedy and Blake and their grandchildren, and to be the grandma, and you're to be the best damn grandma there's ever been, right? And so these are so let's get specific, because I want you to read that story and I want you to feel it. I want you to feel the emotion. We got to have emotion attached to it, because emotion creates motion. So I'm going to ask you two questions. I'm going to restate something you said, then I'm going to ask you, what does this mean? And then how does that make you feel? Okay. So, what does be around mean? How old are you? How old are they when this interaction happens? Where are you at when this interaction happens?
So as far as like being around, I want to be visiting Kennedy at her house. I want to be I want to be able to go shopping with Kennedy and her child when she goes on shopping for her child. Um,
Where's her house?
she's in. I'm gonna say she's in Wake Forest, North Carolina.
Okay, so you're at her house in Wake Forest, and you guys all go shopping together. Is that? Am I hear you correct so far?
Yes,
Okay. And what's important about that particular shopping trip? Why do you pick shopping?
I picked that because it's something that my mom and I really never did. My mom and I never really spent time together.
Now we're getting somewhere. How does it make you feel if Kennedy would tell you in the future that, Mom, we never spent enough time together?
It would totally crush me.
Now we're getting emotion. Now we're connecting emotion to our story. We want to know what pulls us. We want to know that, hey, that shopping trip that I never got to bond with my mom on, that's so important to me. We're going to bond on that day. That's going to happen. What are you going to bond over as you're
We're
shopping?
gonna have we're gonna have brunch.
And it's okay. You're just making up stories, right? It's okay. Does Kennedy have twins, a boy, a girl? Does she have you know, what's it's okay to be wrong.
Yeah, she
we're just making
she
something
has.
up.
Okay, I'll say Kennedy has twin girls, and I say that because my mom was a twin.
Ah, that's cool. Okay, great. Twice the twice the purpose now, right? Just by getting
Yes.
that specific. We already got twice the purpose because before it was just see a grandchildren, multiple. Now we know the first one is going to be two. Woo, we better get on it. We got to go. Both those girls are going to need grandma. Okay, so I'm visiting Kenny at her house in Wake Forest. We go shopping. My mom and I never went shopping together. We have brunch. We're sitting down. Her twin girls, they're old enough to talk. They say one thing in the moment. They say one thing, and Kennedy says one thing at this brunch. What do they say specifically to grandma that makes her feel like her mission has been accomplished in life?
Um, Kennedy tells me that she enjoys spending time with me.
What about the girls?
And the girls also tell me that they enjoy it whenever I come over and spend time with them and get to do things with them.
Okay. And when these things happen at this brunch table, what are you eating?
More than likely, some type of salad with chicken.
What are they eating?
They're probably eating chicken nugget tenders, and Kennedy is probably having a salad as well.
And when you look around and you see generations of Cliftons, well, I guess Kennedy would have generations of of Harriet's children, right? You see these generations, you at your daughter, so there's three generations sitting around a table. You're gonna look around the table and see everybody eating healthy food, and you're gonna say something to yourself inside your head that's gonna make you smile so big. What is that?
It's going to be that all the years that I spent at Burn are paying off the way that I knew that they would, and that my journey has been worth it.
Anything else happen after that in your perfect day? If you had to imagine that, what else? Anything else that would be around that I'm missing?
I would say that Kennedy and I take the girls home and then we go to yoga.
Mm. See what we're doing here?
Hmm.
Okay, now we have to know when. We've answered a lot of who and what questions. What are the when question? When? Give me a date in the future. I want a specific date in the future that this is all going to happen.
I might need to disconnect these.
It's okay.
Let's see. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Okay,
I'm
I
sorry.
can hear
We
you.
got
I
time.
think I can hear you. It keeps going in and out.
You can hear me? You got me, Harriet?
Can you say something?
You there?
Yes,
Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay, great. Awesome. So, so then when is this happening? Give me a specific date.
A day of the week or a specific day?
Specific day.
Um, 2000, you want me to give you like a specific day, like a specific time? Okay. This is
It's
a
okay if
spring
it's
day.
wrong. It's okay if that's not
Okay.
part of Kennedy's plan. This isn't
Okay.
this isn't Kennedy's plan. This is your plan.
Okay. It's a day in the spring. I'm gonna say it's May 5th, 2033.
So, here's what we just said, and I want you to tell me what's more motivating to you. The story that I'm about to say and repeat what you just said, or the former goal, which was to live long enough to see your grandchildren. All right, on May 5th, 2033, on a beautiful, amazing spring day, 3 generations of family, all women, myself, my daughter Kennedy, and her twin daughters, who are now 6 years old, go shopping at a local store in Wake Forest because I never got to go shopping with my mom, and that experience is around healthy food, and shopping is something that I've always wanted, and it's my vision for myself and my girls. After we shop, we eat brunch, and as we're eating chicken salads and healthy food, and as I'm quietly whispering, Harriet, all of these years at Burn, they've paid off. I'm so worth it. Look at how awesome you are. Look at this life that you've made. Look at these beautiful girls. Is emphasized when the girls say, "Grandma, we want to be strong like you when we grow up, and we love spending time, and we love when you spend time with us. We love you, Grandma." And Kennedy looks at you, and she gives confirmation, but it's not confirmation with words. It's tears that are welling up in her eyes as she looks at you with the admiration that she has for you, being her mother, the mother that you've always wanted to be for her, the person that you never had in your life, and the person that sacrificed everything to make her life amazing. And she looks at you. She doesn't even have to say a word. She just looks at you, and you know that look when she's proud of you, and you come to tears, and you wipe it subtly, and then you go drop the kids off, and you guys go head to yoga, and you share with her how much that meant to you in private. And this is a great time for your relationship because you feel like all of the past animosity, any past disagreement is all gone. We're right where we're supposed to be with my daughter, going to yoga, doing something I never got to do with my mom, and bonding over health and fitness. Which one of those stories is more motivational to you?
Absolutely, the one that you just told.
You come to emotion because that's your hot button. That's the true desire. That's the true meaning. And I didn't make that story. I just repeated it back to you in a way that you crafted so you could see what happens emotionally when you start to manifest those things mentally. It's very, very powerful. And in fact, there's a part of our brain called in our prefrontal cortex called the reticular activating system, and it is responsible for attracting that which is our vision and our story. And there's a rule of this part of the brain, and saying the science behind it because I don't want you to feel like it's esoteric. I knew you were going to cry because that's what motivates. That's your truest goal. It's your truest emotion. And my goal is to just help bring that out of you, right? And what happens is when we connect with the things that we love the most in our life and we envision a future where we get every amount of all the love that we have always desired to get, we're going to break down in tears because of the joy and sense of You just made that real in your head. What you're doing, you're training your RAS, your reticular activating system. You're training it by getting emotional and saying, hey, this is what I want, and boss this emotion with tears of joy so that I never forget it. Right. And then when you read this thing over and over and over again, you're going to keep training this part of your brain to heat sink everything that you need to do in your life, like one of those heat sinking missiles that kind of locks onto its target, and wherever the target goes, that's where it goes, right? That's in effect what you're doing as you as you as you have this story and you write it down. First of all, take it seriously, and I hope you do, because you can see the connection to emotion that's there. And then you write it down and you repeat it over and over and over. And not only repeat it, we're just getting started with it, right? This becomes more defined. You'll have dreams if you think about it enough. You'll have just sporadic thoughts that pop up in the head of your day, and you'll write that down. That'll become part of your story, and before you know it, 2 years down the road, you've got a 3-page story of exactly how your life's going to turn out, and everything you will be doing on a daily basis will be attracting toward that. My theory is that the reason why you've gone up and down, in effect, what most people call yo-yo dieting, you haven't done that. You've done yo-yo goal setting, right? Where it's like you set a goal and then achieve the goal, and then don't set a goal, and then the motivation temporarily goes away, and then but you get pain when it goes away too far, and then boop, that goal remotivates me, and then I go off it, and then remotivates me, and you've been in a range. This is geared toward taking your range and making it more narrow, because your goal is more specific and your goal is more narrow. How does that sit with you? Are you connecting to that?
Yes, 100%. And we, during focus meetings, Lindsay has always said, you have to know your why, and your why will make you cry. Like, and I never could fathom that. I'm like, well, I want to lose weight because I want to be around for my kids, and going deep, just like you said, like you did with me just now. I totally get it. Like, now I understand exactly what she has been talking about.
Just getting as specific as possible. Listen, in 6 months from today, when you work on this every week a little bit, you set aside 15 minutes to just, or keep running notes on your phone of like I have it on my phone. It's called Vision Notes. I've got like almost 16 pages. I've got one day in the future. I'll give you an example for me and how I do it, because I would never be able to give advice or help somebody that if I hadn't used the strategy to help myself first. And so I started doing this probably 3 years, so probably 2014. And I wrote a place where I would be in the future when Burn Boot Camp awarded its 500th location. This was when we had 5 open locations. And the reason I picked a business outcome to center my entire objective around is because I knew that would be the vehicle in which could help me reach all my other goals. And so my story looked something like this. And this is going to be funny to you, but in 2030, which we have 530 now, and it's 2023. But so maybe a testament to how powerful this stuff is. This was in 2014, I believe. In 2030, when I signed the franchise agreement with my partner Scott Tobin, as he was because he was one of my early trainers who told me, I want to go to the moon, I want to do 1,000 locations. I'm like, great. So when I signed my 500th unit and Scott Tobin is the person that signs that agreement, my family and I will be inside of one of his gyms, and we will have a long drive from there, a 4-hour drive, because we're going to go sign it on a Friday, and then we're going to do a 4-hour drive and go to the beach right after. So shoot from he's in Richmond, and then we're going to shoot from Richmond and go to the beach. And the whole car ride, my kids are old enough to where they're asking me all of life's hard questions, and they're getting curious. They're now 10. They're now, what is it, in 2030? They're 10. They're, 8, 2006 or something like that. I don't know. At the time, I just made up the kids. I made up the kids' ages, and they were asking me about my mom and dad the entire ride, and I wrote out all these questions they would ask me and what my answer would be, and then what their response would be. And so I won't read it verbatim, but one of the examples was, "Hey, Dad, where's your mommy and daddy?" And I got to explain for the first time why your mommy and daddy, are who they are is because of their mommy and daddy, and how that was about how why they are the singular motivation for us to impact the world and work 18 hours a day, 7 days a week on our dreams. And the response they had was a mesmerized response. Every time we said an answer, they were filled with compassion and enthusiasm and excitement, and they were proud. And Cameron would say things back to me like, "Daddy, can I do I does this mean I get to own Burn one day?" And Max and her would kind of fight over that a little bit. Like, "No, I want to be the CEO of Burn. No, I want to be the CEO of Burn." And I say, "Guys," and then Ryan chimes in and says, "Well, I'm the trainer," and so it's a family business, and we're molding the family business while my children are young, on the way to sign our 500th agreement. And right after that, we go to the beach for a beautiful day at the beach, and Morgan and I are in the happiest place we've ever been. I love yous are so sincere. We're in the best shape ever in our lives. We're both congruent mentally, emotionally, and physically. We're more in love than we've ever been. We share a long walk as a family on the beach, and we sit down at sunset and we cry as a family to reflect on the 500th agreement, our family wealth that we've created. And as the kids are kind of running around, splashing in the sand and splashing in the water, they're still a little afraid to go in the ocean at this point, so they're splashing around in the wake that comes up in the wash, as Morgan and I are just sitting there and mesmerized watching the sunset. And so this for me literally was my first. It hadn't worked out quite like that, honestly, but it never
Love that.
will, right? The point is that you're pointed towards something so specific that your body and your mind just begin to attract things. We've done our 500th agreement. We did 530. There was a day when we walked into HQ, the big map that we have at HQ, the big one with
Hmm.
all the pins in it. I'm not sure if you've seen it.
Hmm.
Well, there's
Yeah.
a day where my two kids that are old enough, Cameron and Maxwell, walked in, kind of analogous to the car ride. They walked in, they looked at all the pins, and Cameron looks at me and she goes, "Wait a second, Dad. Wait, where are we right now?" And I pointed to one pin. She goes, "Wait, upstairs is just one of these?" And I'm like, "Uh-huh." She goes, "So these are all Burn boot camps?" And I go, "Yeah, babe." And she looks at me and she goes, "Wow." Like that, like the proud wow moment when she's so proud.
Hmm.
And that in that moment, I was like, "This is crazy." Like this, so all the feelings that I had of them having that conversation in that car was that conversation. It had manifested in the form of her looking at that map, and they and you know and projecting their thoughts about how big we were, and how wide-eyed and proud they were of us. So just trying to give you a little context of how this had worked out for me. And my story is always growing. It doesn't look the same now as it did then, because as you hit goals, you start to you know set more intentional ones as you gain more success. So I think this whole conversation is just an intentionality conversation for you, Harriet, is what it boils down to. Trying to give you a tool to be intentional.
Hmm.
Intentionality, doing everything with such a specific purpose and outcome, um, to where you get even into imagination state. And it's powerful when you can get into imagination state, because that's how we were all made. That we're made in that image of ultimate divine creation. And it's a God-given ability for us to use our creative imagination to envision the future. Why the hell else would we have these crazy brains that can do awesome stuff? So that's the way that I've always looked at it, and hopefully that helps, and you'll really grab onto the story and start to mold it yourself.
Yes, that was very helpful. That was extremely helpful.
Um, okay, so then what will you do? What did you, out of all that stuff? Let's wrap this one up. What did you take away? What are you going to go do? Let's talk about action steps, massive action plan.
consistency, because you can't just imagine it. You can't imagine it happening or thinking of yourself a certain way if you're not doing the work. So consistency has been my issue. Um, I know, like you said, I know what to do. I'm counting macros now while I'm learning to count macros, logging my food, just, not starting over every week. So being more consistent and, like you said, intentional.
So we just really explained the push mode, like the pull motivation, like what's going to pull you forward. Like when you think about, if you start to think about, oh, I don't want to go to camp today, right? You start to think about, oh, I'm going to have that food that I know I shouldn't have. Or you start to think about doing so or starting over or whatever negative, um, doubtful emotions are going inward, what thoughts are going inward. Um, you've got to be able to frame things in in the negative too. So that story that we talked about, if you're thinking about that in terms of consistency in camps, let's say, and you're motivated by that, well, let's triple down on that and let's say what would happen if we skipped the camp and if we projected skipping that camp for the future, and what negative emotions we would feel if that entire story that we just laid out doesn't happen. We're motivated both by the pull of the goal of the vision in the future, but also the push from behind, almost like this place where we want to run away from dramatically. Like we don't want it. We'll never be in that place. It could be a completely different story. You could have two. You could have one that's a real envision of the future and what happens if you don't. Well, what happens if you don't is the story on the other side, that if I didn't do anything, what's the worst case scenario? And you could really dive into that as well. So having both of those, you're going to increase your probability of staying on track. When you get those feelings of inconsistency, and you get those feelings of, hey, I don't want to go to camp. Like, can you pull out your story? Can you read it right in the moment? Because I guarantee you, if you had to make a decision, am I going to go to camp or not? Right after we got through your specific story and I read it back to you and you went to emotion, if I asked you if you were going to camp, right in emotion, are you going to camp or not?
You cut out.
You know, you know what I mean? If I ask you the question, hey Harriet, are you going to camp tomorrow? And you just finished articulating that story to yourself and you were in emotion, what are you going to
Mhm.
say when you're in that positive emotion? What's the answer to, am I going to camp tomorrow or not?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm
100%,
going.
right?
Yes.
If you're not using that tool, then you're just getting further away from